Hello folks, and welcome to my review of the Kia EV6, the very close cousin of the Hyundai IONIQ 5. Although closely related, they look very different, and there are certainly some key differences between the two cars. As you can see, the EV6 is a very good looking car, slightly more traditional looking than the IONIQ 5, but a very interesting looking car indeed. Folks, we're all very used to the wing mirrors popping out when you unlock a car these days, but what about the door handles? You may well have noticed a little continuity error here. All I'm going to say is camera troubles. Anyway, on we go. Charging the car's a doddle. You've got this great little charging compartment here, which is very discreet behind this little panel. You've got a visual indicator of the car current level of charge, and obviously it's blinking because I'm currently charging the car. I'm doing that with my Easy One charger from Bumblebee EV, sponsors of today's video. Now I'm only on a 7 kilowatt charger here at home, but it is capable of some very fast charging. More about that in a moment. So the front cabin in the EV6 is actually quite different to the IONIQ 5. These seats are glorious, by the way, part leather, part suede. Very, very nice quality and massively comfortable, and really good rear lumbar support. You've got wireless phone charging pad here. Got a very nice little gear selector, which you've come to see in most of the Kias. It just works a bit better than the gear selector that's in the IONIQ 5, which is a bit of an odd stalk thing up here. If you want to see the review for the IONIQ 5, there's a link to it popping up in the corner of the screen now, by the way. More like a traditional centre console in this car. It doesn't go anywhere. You've got plenty of room underneath. You've got a storage cubby here, which is quite deep, and you've got a couple of cup holders and somewhere to put your key. Up on the dash, we've got two very lovely screens, really nice resolution, nice and clear. Everything you might possibly need is available in that driver information display, but at no point does it feel overly cluttered. The infotainment system itself is a joy to use. It's really good on these new Kia and Hyundai and Genesis cars. You've got the option of Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, but the USB connection for that is right down there, which seems a little odd. Same on the IONIQ 5. But in all fairness, you could live without it. It's such a good system, so easy to use, and it looks really nice. Onto the climate controls, you've got some touch sensitive buttons, but you've also got some twiddly dials, which we love, don't we? And in this model, there's also some ambient lighting, very nice quality materials, and it's just quite an interesting thing to sit and look at more than anything else. I must also mention the Meridian sound system, which is absolutely stonking in this car. It's a brilliant performer. This is just a very well designed cabin. That's a nice place to sit, nice place to be, and a really nice place to drive. So in the back here, there's acres of legroom. The driver's seat here is set to my normal driving position, and I've got all this to play with. Bit tight on the toes. The seat's a bit low down, or the floor's a bit high, so there's not a ton of room to put your feet underneath the seat in front, but in all honesty, you don't really need it because there's acres of legroom. Completely flat floor. Great touches that you're getting in these Kias now. We've got USB sockets in the side of the seats, which is great for the rear passengers, really easy access. And you've got the air vents here. This car's got a sunroof. It's not fully panoramic, it's just at the front. The roof actually slopes up here to give you a little bit more headroom, and you'd be very comfortable in this car at 6 foot, 6'1", riding in the back. You can also get 3 adults in the back. I've got a kiddie seat in here at the moment. There's still plenty of room for 3 adults in here. It's a really nice place to be, and the quality of the materials is what we've come to expect from Kia. So boot space is a very generous 490 litres. You've also got 20 litres in the front in this car. If you go for a rear wheel drive version, this one's the all wheel drive. If you go for rear wheel drive, that front space increases to 52 litres. Also under the boot floor, there is some further storage. It's quite shallow, but you could certainly get things in there like your first aid kit. We've got the tyre inflation kit. You might be able to even cram the cables down in there. Now when the boot lid's closed, you've got this seamless integration of the light across the boot lid. When the boot lid's open, you've got quite a sticky, outy, pointy brake light there. Obviously I'm quite well covered in the ribs area, so I'll probably be alright, but a thinner man could do himself a mischief on that. If you break that, being a bit clumsy putting a large item into the boot, that's probably going to cost you a few quid to replace. This one is the GT Line S, all-wheel drive with a 77 kilowatt hour battery. So in terms of your spec levels, we're right up there. This one has an on-the-road price of around 55 grand. So with this being such a close cousin of the Hyundai IONIQ 5, does it drive dramatically different to the IONIQ 5? Well, the answer's sort of yes and no. It doesn't feel dramatically different to the IONIQ 5 to drive, but it does feel a bit sportier. This one's certainly very responsive. When you put it into sport mode, you've got a 0 to 60 time of 5.2 seconds, which is fairly impressive stuff. And I would say generally it just rides a tad firmer than the IONIQ 5, giving it a sportier feel. Steering's massively responsive. It's a really nice thing to drive, and it's just as happy around town as it is on a long motorway journey. Combined battery range in this one's 300 miles or so is claimed, and Kia are famously pretty hot on their claimed consumption figures. This car's been sitting in the full sun, so I've got the aircon absolutely blasting at the moment, and if you're driving the car in any way enthusiastically with the aircon blasting, you can obviously expect that consumption figure to take a fairly hefty hit. But in normal everyday driving, it seems to be fairly accurate. Now, on a 50 kilowatt charger, you can take this car from 10% battery to 80% battery in 73 minutes. If you change to a 350 kilowatt charger, so they're the fastest chargers you can get in this country at the moment, as far as I'm aware, that number drops to 18 minutes. Now, you're generally only going to find those chargers at service stations. 18 minutes is probably not a bad time to go and have a whittle, wash your hands, I hope, and buy yourself a coffee before returning to your car. And that 10 to 80% in 18 minutes is enough to get most people where they're going to be going. Steering wheel's nothing spectacular, but it's very nicely trimmed. It's got drive mode button here. You've got controls for your stereo over here. Nice little metal rocker switches, which we always like, and some proper buttons. Not a haptic in sight. It's also got flappy paddles to control that regen braking, and everything's laid out in just the right place for the driver. Fantastic. So I'm just going to pop it into sports mode now. I don't have a forward facing camera attached today, unfortunately, but you should get the gist of oh my giddy aunt, I like it. So although with EVs people always talk about the 0 to 60 time, something else they do fantastically well is an overtake. I think when you're stuck on an A road, and 60 mile an hour A road, and you've got someone in front of you doing 35, and you just want to get past as quickly and safely as possible, you're past them before you've even thought about it in one of these performance EVs. And in some of those situations, quicker is indeed safer. Something you get used to in any new Hyundai Group car, so whether that's Hyundai, Kia or Genesis, is an absolute raft of safety features. You name it, it's on this car. I'm not going to go through them all. There are a few beeps and bongs along the way, but luckily you can disengage anything that you find too offensive. Driver visibility is good. Massive wing mirrors help you to comfortably see everything going on behind. And although the pillars at the back might make reversing awkward, the reversing camera on this is as good as on anything you'll ever see. The resolution on it's probably not too far off my TV. So I guess the big question that lots of people will ask is, well, which one's better? Is it the EV6 or the IONIQ 5? They're extremely similar cars, okay? I know some people are offended by the sight of an IONIQ 5 because it looks so different, and others absolutely adore it. I would say for those that are offended by the sight of an IONIQ 5, they'll probably love the EV6. I'm sure everyone will love the driving experience because there's just nothing to fault with the way the thing drives. There really isn't. Obviously, I always sum these things up by telling you how I feel about the car going back, and I'm absolutely devastated that this is going back. I want to keep it. I like it a lot. It's a fantastic thing to sit in. It's a fantastic thing to drive. What's not to like? If you'd like to look at the latest lease deals on an EV6, click the link in the video description and pinned as the top comment. That will take you straight to Lease Loco. It will show you all the deals on EV6s today at the time you're watching this. It's a constantly updated link, and using that link helps support the channel, and I need your support, folks. Speaking of which, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe and click the notification bell if you haven't already done so. Is there a better looking EV available at the moment? What are your thoughts? As always, folks, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.